right, we are live. Okay, amazing. We are live and recording. So as everyone starts to settle in, I just want to point your attention to the little sticky note here in the chat. Welcome. We are so glad you're here. Please introduce yourself in the chat. Where are you? What do you do? And also, if you navigate over on the top menu over to polls, we have two quick polls for you to fill out to help our guest get an idea of who is here. So we're asking, what kind of business do you have and how long have you been in business? So please go ahead, introduce yourself, head on over to the polls, and we will get started. So hi, everyone. To start off, I want to welcome you to our global virtual webinar today. Thank you for joining us here on a Thursday rather than a Tuesday. If you've been around for a while, you know that we normally do this on Tuesdays. But as you know, it was election day here on Tuesday in the United States where our team is based. So to accommodate getting to the polls, we pushed our webinar back. And I am very excited to be hosting our community today here on this webinar. I am Kate Masters, the Community Development Manager here at HoneyBook and Rising Tide. And for those of you who are new here or maybe just want a little bit of a reminder, Rising Tide is a community of independent business owners, freelancers, service providers, and creative entrepreneurs who come together regularly to support one another in the spirit of community over competition. In practice, that looks like hundreds of local chapters led by extraordinary volunteer co-leaders and chairs, many of whom I'm sure are popping into the chat right now, a Facebook group with over 70,000 community members, and educational resources released almost daily, including blog posts, webinars like these, file templates, monthly downloadables, and so much more completely free for our community. Rising Tide believes an empowered creative economy will change the world, and by elevating the voices of independent business owners, sharing their stories, and building a thriving community, we hope to support you in your pursuit of a sustainable livelihood doing what you love. If this is the first time you're joining us in 2020 when coronavirus shut down our in-person meetings, we decided to take our monthly meetups online for the very first time. And even though our in-person meetings have resumed, we've continued to host these webinars again and again, providing accessible education every single month for our community. And today I am very, very excited to welcome Erika Tebbens. I will introduce Erika in just a moment. But first, just a couple of housekeeping notes, and then we will dive right in. To say thank you for joining us live and to add some extra excitement to the day, we are giving away a $50 Amex gift card to a live attendee. So all you need to do to be entered for that is to tag at Rising Tide Society and at Erika Tebbens Consulting on Instagram stories while you're tuning in. You can share a snapshot of how or where you're joining. And hello to the multitaskers, maybe joining on mobile. You can definitely share how you're tuning in. There's no judgment there if you're trying to get some other tasks done at the same time. We see you, we celebrate you. You could share a learning from today, a most quotable moment, anything you want. Also, keep your eyes on the chat for some pop-ups that will share information for things like how you can get your hands on this month's guide for you to download for free. It's full of insights on this month's topic, which is sales strategies. And finally, a note about today's webinar before I introduce Erika. Erika will be presenting in a keynote style with gorgeous slides that we got to preview. So feel free to pop questions in the Q&A box. It's just a tab over from the chat. And we have saved time at the end for questions. Like I mentioned, we have our live chat box. So if you want to share learnings or kudos in real time in the chat, you can absolutely feel free to share those things in the chat as well. So now, what you've been waiting for, I'd love to introduce you to Erika. Erika Tebbens is a growth strategist and sales coach for visionary entrepreneurs who want to grow their business and get paid well without compromising who they are or what they care about. She works with established service providers, consultants, and coaches to create customized growth plans without complex systems, sleazy sales tactics, or working more hours. I feel like I need to just stop and snap there, Erika. That's a really great
Thank you.
first intro. Erika firmly believes in the power of integrity-driven, connection-centered sales and marketing strategies that allow entrepreneurs to grow their businesses sustainably in a way that feels good to them. And she's passionate about helping women and gender-expansive business owners grow their revenue with more ease because money has the power to make positive change. And with nearly 20 years of experience running successful businesses from solo operations to multi-million-dollar retail teams, She knows there's no one perfect way to operate, only one that's perfectly aligned with your strengths, values, and vision. She dishes out honest and actionable business advice weekly on the Sell It Sister podcast, and her first book, You've Got This, A Counterintuitive Guide to Powerful Inevitable Change Making, which comes out in 11 days, November 21st. We're so excited for you. So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself, hide myself. Erika, please take it from here. We are so excited.
Awesome. Thank you. I am so excited to be here. And thank you, HoneyBook and Rising Tide, for having me. Oh my gosh, this is such an honor. And thank you to everyone who is tuning in. I'm going to pull this up. And I know there is the poll or the two polls going on, but I would love to know in the chat if you just want to drop in one word that comes to mind of how you feel when you think of selling, just let me know. There is absolutely no judgment here. This is what we're talking about today: sales conversations that convert, a gimmick free, connection centered approach to finding and securing clients. So, oh my gosh, I'm seeing the words come on in. Okay. Ooh, yeah, lots of them. Icky, overwhelmed, scary, uncomfortable, nauseous. Yes. Okay. Kind of what I was expecting. I won't belabor my intro since Kate just did such a great job of introducing me. But also my pronouns are she, her. So just wanted to put that out there as well, just in case. And I am just thrilled to get this sales party started. It is really important beyond just knowing who I am and what I do in my business. It's important to share a little bit about my values with you. I actually have an entire page on my website that goes over my 5 core values, but my number one value is honesty and integrity above all else. And that is why everything that I teach is based on experience rather than theory. So, what I mean by this is that I am a big believer in pairing solid, timeless strategy with really simple, personalized tactics to equal money magic. That is my winning formula, both for myself and my own business and with the hundreds of people who I have taught and coached in business as well. I'm also really passionate about helping people run thriving businesses because money is powerful, and running a successful, financially sound business that serves its clients well and doesn't exploit or exhaust anyone is a form of revolution, in my opinion. And case in point, just to give an example of this, on Tuesday, I was actually able to give myself the entire day off so that I could go work the elections. So I was there for 15 hours and it was great. And my business allowed me to do that. And especially with the intentional way that I have structured it. So very, very grateful that I was able to do that. It's also, I have a cough drop in my mouth right now because I was talking for 15 hours Tuesday. So here we are. So the 3 key steps to sleaze-free selling that we are going to go more in depth on today are attracting, nurturing, and then converting. So, first up with attraction, you want to make sure that you're really clear on who you serve, what they're struggling with, or what they want, and how you serve them so that you can work with the best clients. You also then want to nurture people. So, once people know about you and you know about them, give them a chance to actually get to know you and what you do. Leverage your web presence and prioritize connection to build the trust that is necessary before people buy. And lastly, convert. So you're going to confidently speak to the benefits of working with you without having to feel like you are convincing anyone to pay you, because they won't need convincing. They'll just know that you are a perfect match. Has anyone ever felt that, like, oh my gosh, like it feels like you're going to need to convince someone, right? That's like a common objection that comes up a lot with sales and selling, is like, I don't want to feel like I'm having to like convince anyone to work with me. Yeah. Yeah, we also got we got scary, not confident, anxious, and timid. Yes, all adjectives, all very common adjectives when it comes to selling. So, first up, as we talk about attraction, I want you to memorize this quote. I say this all the time. I have looked and looked. I cannot find who was the first person to be credited with saying it. It's just sort of a common saying that's out there, but it's one I love. It's one I always share with my clients is attract the best, repel the rest. And I know that this can feel really scary because it can feel like, why would I want to repel money, right? That seems like a really foolish thing to do as a business owner. But the reality is we only have so much time and energy to work with clients, right? So wouldn't it be better to work with people who are absolutely the best fit? I think so. So, how you can do this is to get really clear on your values and your non negotiables first. So, I already talked a little bit about mine. I mentioned I have them very clearly listed on my website. If you follow me on social media, it's pretty apparent like what my core values are and things like that, right? I'm not trying to hide any of that. Those for me are non negotiables. And then I also have like a few other non negotiables too, but it's really important to find your own. Also think about why your work is valuable and who for whom is it the most valuable. It's also good to think about who isn't a good fit and why, because this allows you to better qualify the people who you're having sales conversations with, just to make sure that, again, you're both a really good fit for each other. Also, thinking about your positioning in your industry and the core message that you want to get across in your marketing. So, what you want to do with your marketing as you're putting things out there, even beyond just thinking about social media content, right? If you're thinking about your website or any other places that people are going to be coming across you, sales pages, anything like that, you almost want people to think like, are you spying on me, right? Not in like a creepy way, but in a way where you get the sense that if you're looking into somebody, you're thinking about, should I follow this person? Should I learn from this person? Should I potentially hire this person? We want to be sure that we are making the best investment for ourselves, right? We want to make sure the person truly understands us and where we are coming from. So you can do this in your own sales messaging to be sure you are attracting the right people. It's really good to get to know the nuances of your ideal clients. So this is a whole lot less about like which magazines do they read or like where do they take their vacations and stuff like that, which is a lot of times what gets talked about in like niche, like, oh, figuring out your niche and stuff like that. It's honestly a lot less about that unless your business is so niche, like you are a travel agent or something, then maybe, right? But it's really more, what are they saying, thinking, feeling, doing in relation to what you help them with, right? So if you work with entrepreneurs, what are they telling their biz besties? If you are B2C, what are they telling their best friend, right? As it relates to what you do. Or what are they like thinking about, journaling about, pondering in the shower, right? All of those things. The more specific you can speak to where they're at and how you are the perfect person to get them from where they are to where they want to be, the better. So, where are you going to be able to connect with these folks to learn more about them? So, one thing I always really like to think about in like sales and marketing and just business in general is, how can I be curious, right? How can I be curious so I can learn more about the people who I want to help and what their concerns are, what their worries are, what their hopes are, all of those things, right? Well, good news is there are a lot of places. You've got social media, you've got your free and paid communities. For instance, the Tuesdays Together, Rising Tide Society, super, super, super great. When you get involved in those communities, when you go to your local meetups, when you have, when there are events like this, you actually get to interact with people who either might be your ideal client or they might know your ideal client, right? And then you can actually mingle and get curious and ask questions. Finding other networking events, which even if you're somewhere where there aren't great networking events, there now are like so many virtual ones, right? Since 2020, that you really have a lot of options in terms of networking. And I would include things like online business communities, Facebook groups, memberships, anything like that. That also counts as networking, depending on what it is you do and who you serve. Coffee chats, either in person or virtual, doing market research or surveys. If you do masterminds, like sometimes people will do peer-led free masterminds or also paid masterminds, also with your peers. Doing teaching and speaking and asking questions and mingling, learning from people that way, and also going to industry organizations and events, right? So belonging to industry organizations, going to conferences or other events, things like that. So many options, so many options. Okay, I'm gonna close my little talking head out because I can't see I'm gonna actually close my, there we go. Thing was hovering over, I couldn't see. So an important reminder, don't wait around for people to find you. Be proactive and get yourself in front of more people who'd be perfect clients, collaborators, or connections. Like connections are things like people who might be referral partners, let's say. And always be genuine and generous. People can tell when you are just trying to use them, right? Like we've all been on the receiving end of a really icky, pitchy sales conversation in the DMs, I'm sure, right? Where you're like, this person doesn't care about me. They are just trying to like bide their time before they can pitch me with their offer, right? Let me know in the chat if that has ever happened to you. It's probably all of us here, right? But what is really important, and a lot of times, especially with the rise of content marketing and social media, is that we approach business with this, like, if you build it, they will come attitude. And that is really going to keep you stuck in terms of like what is possible for you in terms of revenue, because you're just going to be sitting around and waiting for people to find you. You want to be proactive in going out there and really connecting with other people that can help you grow your business in a variety of ways. So now that you are out there, you are mixing and mingling and meeting people, even if it is digitally, you are going to want to grow the connection with content, right? So, first up, with attracting the right people, right? People can't buy what they don't know exists. So, if they don't know about you, they can't ever learn anything from you, right? They can't even enjoy all the amazing free content that you are putting out there, right? So once somebody now knows you, then you got to warm up to each other, right? It's sort of like dating. You're not going to go on a date and then like before dessert comes you're ready to go get married. Like probably not. I'm sure it's happened sometimes, but probably not the case, right? Not on a first date at least. So think about selling in the same way. You want to give people a chance to get to know you to see if you're the right fit. So as you're thinking about putting out content, you're going to want to demonstrate why you are the professional that can help them. So you can think about giving them aha moments, quick wins, and a really good sense of who you are and your unique approach. So, one cool thing about social media is that while I don't believe that you have to turn everything from your life into content, I do believe in really good, strong, healthy boundaries. It is nice that we are able to give people a closer look into who we are. People really make buying decisions based on relationships. Actually, a good friend and I were just having a conversation this week about how Target is so brilliant in their marketing because Target has built their brand in a way, and I would say like the last couple decades, that especially that really makes you feel like they're like a friend, right? Like what do we say? Like I'm just going to go on a Target run, right? It's you're just going to go wander the aisles, you're like going to get your Starbucks coffee at the front, you're just going to wander, you're going to see what Target wants you to buy and then you're going to buy it, right? And you just don't have that same feeling with especially a lot of other like major corporations like that, right? Yes, trust and comfort, Kate, exactly, right? So Target sort of has this vibe, right? That like their core audience, their core shopper really resonates with. So we are able to do the same without having to have multi-millions of dollars to spend in marketing. Like that's why making a reel where you're just talking about yourself or like your special interests is really going to resonate with the right people. It's also a good idea to meet them where they're at. So there are approximately 3 types of buyers, and you may not even serve all 3 of them, right? So this is going to be different for everyone. But these are problem aware, solution aware, and then people who are problem and solution aware. So people who are problem aware are people who they know that there is something that maybe they're frustrated with, right? Or maybe not even frustrated, but there's like an unmet desire. There's something that they want. There's something that they believe could be better, but they're not really sure. They don't already know that like the thing you do is something that could potentially alleviate that, right? So, because actually my brand strategist and designer Petchy is on, I will just use her as an example, right? So she does brand strategy and design. She did my branding. She made the beautiful slide deck that I'm using today. And there are people out there who might not realize if they are going through a pivot, if they're trying to sort of elevate their brand, speak to a different clientele, give off a different vibe, that their branding might not be matching their messaging, right? They might be attracting the wrong kind of buyer, right? And so she could put stuff out there that's like, hey, are you um keep ending up in the DMs with people who say they can't afford you, or end up you end up wasting time on a lot of sales calls because you're getting mismatched clients, right? Might be a time for a rebrand. And here are 3 reasons why, right? So that's one of those things. That's one example there. Now, solution aware are people who they are a little bit more aware of like they have an inkling of one of the solutions that they could possibly do, but maybe they don't know all of the solutions, right? So the example that I often give for this might be you have this really great opt-in that gets people on your email list, and you have decided that for Q1 of next year you are going to grow your email list. So you might already know that there are several ways that you can do that, but you might not know that like Pinterest is one of those ways, right? So if you're a Pinterest strategist, if you help people, if you teach Pinterest strategy or you set it up for them, uh, you could have some content in there talking about how if they were to work with you on Pinterest or take your Pinterest course or whatever it is that you have, that is actually a really great, much more hands-off way to be able to grow your email list, right? It could be something where if you're really pressed for time, you could use Pinterest instead of some other methods. Or maybe you want to try from multiple angles, right? And so you're going to be doing stuff on your own to help grow your email list, but you also want your email list to be growing while you sleep. That's where Pinterest could come in, right? So that's the kind of content you would share in that solution aware case. The problem and solution aware people are typically people who they already know the type of person that they want to hire, right? They already know, like, I need a business coach, right? Like, that's what I'm going to do. My next investment is a business coach. And they might be following several different business coaches that they vibe with. So if you are sharing testimonials, case studies, frameworks, anything like that to show what it's really like to actually work with you, that is that kind of content. So, where should you share this? Again, so many options, right? I'm not going to read through all of them, but literally the sky is the limit. All of these, except for paid ads, are like you don't have to pay to do them, right? You can put them out there organically. Yes, it's going to take your time, right? You are paying with your time and your energy. But I did specifically put paid ads at the bottom because you can actually get a lot of traction in your business just on organic marketing alone. Here and there, from time to time, I have very briefly run some not very successful paid ads on my own or with like a little help from some other people. And honestly, ultimately, I just realized I don't need it. I get all the business that I need and want from organic marketing, right? So you're going to be um, pretty much anywhere people are or your perfect people. If you can get your content in front of them, if you can get your brand in front of them, your presence in front of them, that is going to help tremendously. An important reminder on nurturing: start small and be consistent with your marketing content and your connection approach before you branch out. This is going to drastically reduce overwhelm and burnout. So instead of trying to be everywhere and do everything, pick 3 to 5 ways you can consistently connect and nurture people for just 90 days, right? Just think about your business in 90-day chunks. So your 3 to 5 ways might be that you maybe you send an email out to your email list like maybe it's once a week, right? Once a week you send out an email to your email list. Maybe you post on social media 4 times a week. One of those four, the call to action is to get an opt in or something that you have that moves people to the email list. And then maybe you do a few other things. Like maybe you um, do your Tuesdays together, right? So you do a Tuesdays together like once a month. And then maybe from that, you decide, okay, each time I'm going to select 2 people from the meeting to have a coffee chat with after, right? And you're just going to do that for 90 days. Maybe you also, like, if you're in some cool Facebook groups or communities, you're like, 3 days a week for 15 minutes, I'm going to intentionally network. That's it. You're just going to do those things, smaller bite-sized things, in whatever cadence works for you for 90 days. And then you're going to track what worked and what didn't, and you're going to adjust the plan. This is, I know there's a question in the that somebody submitted for Q&A about consistency, but this is truly my best tip for it. So now we get to the really juicy part. You've got to lead your leads. You got to invite them into something that they can do next, right? Because they are not necessarily going to know. So, first, we talked about building your visibility. It's not just about getting more eyes on you, right? This is not, you do not need to have hundreds of thousands of social media followers. You do not need to be everywhere all the time. It's about getting more of the right eyes on you. So you do not need fame, but you need brand awareness, right? So simply going to like one amazing conference a year or retreat a year or something like that, that is just chock full of your ideal clients, that might actually like fill your whole roster for the entire next year, right? You might be kind of a nobody in the grand scheme of things, right? You're not some huge influencer or anything, but just by being a go-to expert for what you do, in the special way that you do it in uh, whatever industry that you're in, can absolutely keep you booked for, like pretty much filling your roster year after year. So then after visibility, we talked about you're going to nurture those new eyes. And then depending on your niche and your offers, it can take some time to warm people up before they say yes. But you have to show them why they can trust you, right? So trust is the essential component before somebody buys. It absolutely has to be there or people will not invest. And depending on what you do, especially if the thing that you do is very sensitive. I have had some clients and some friends who, maybe what they do is they work with money and people who are really struggling with money or struggling with fertility, things like that, right? Things that are a bit more sensitive. They don't actually necessarily get a lot of comments on their social posts because people are less inclined to kind of publicly raise their hand and go, oh my gosh, yes, this is me. Like, this is my struggle. But they will watch and they will wait and they will assess. And then when they are ready, like they are booking in on your call calendar and they are ready to go. Yes, you do. Yeah, you don't. Introverts, don't worry. I am an extrovert myself, but honestly, most of my clients are introverts. And what I'm talking about works for them because I really, unless somebody really wants to be everywhere, even though I'm an expert, even though I'm an extrovert, I still don't want to be everywhere, right? I still really love having a lot of time off. And so that is why I am all about prioritizing where and how you're showing up rather than just kind of being super busy trying to be everywhere. So lastly, we are leading our leads. We're telling them what to do next. And this is how we get conversions. So now that they know about you and now that they trust you, you've got to be sure to talk about how you can help and what they need to learn more or to get that help, right? Each of us knows the ins and outs of our business because it's our business, right? But we can't expect other people to know all of our current offers or opt-ins or anything like that, right? So it's important for us to talk about it. Talking about things that people can take advantage of is not sleazy. It's being good at business. Um, yeah. Oh yeah, Oh yay, Brandy's here. My favorite hack: get yourself an emotional support extrovert for events and conferences. Yes, I'm always willing to be that emotional support extrovert. So this is my sleaze free sales method. In a little bit, I'm going to give you a link so you can actually download this. So you don't have to take notes furiously. Don't worry. But it's really easy to remember because it's just the sales acronym. So first up, you want to set the tone. In everywhere you are, everywhere you're showing up, whether that is digitally, whether it's in person, whether it's a static website or like your ever evolving content or on a sales call or at a conference or anything like that, set a welcoming tone. So, especially like, first of all, in your overall brand, right? For your ideal clients, for the people that you want to attract, right? So, for the best, we're repelling the rest, we're attracting the best. You want your brand to be welcoming for them in particular. But then on the sales call, right? Set them at ease. Give them an overview of how it's going to go down, right? So they've learned about you, they've vibed with your content, you talked about an offer, you said, here's the sales page and book a call if you're interested. However they got on your call calendar. Now you're on the call. Make them comfortable and reassured. This is step 1. Then you're going to want to ask good questions. So we want to practice really good listening skills to find the best solutions for that person. And some of that can even be done with a really good intake form, especially depending on, like, pretty much I think all call booking platforms nowadays allow you to put questions that people fill out, and you can actually do some assessment early on to make sure they're a right fit based on those questions that you ask. So remember earlier how I said a lot of business is just about being curious and asking good questions. So I like to think of a sales call or a sales conversation as being curious, like having a curious conversation that ends with you being able to help somebody, right? That feels a lot better than like, I got to close the sale, I got to convert, right? I don't know. It feels better in my body to think of it that way than like, I got to make sure to get the yes on the call. That's not what we're going for. Curious conversations that in the end, you get to help somebody. So you are going to ask really good questions to learn about them. I just did this with somebody who had, she was inquiring about my group program, about the next cohort. She was trying to decide on the 2 different levels. And I just reached back out and I was like, hey, just tell me a little bit more. Like, what are your goals for next year? Do you have any projects? Like, what's going on with you right now? All of this stuff. Just asking good questions so I can honestly find the best level of support for what she's looking for right now. Then you're going to want to listen, limit, and lead. We do not want to overwhelm people with options. So, based on what they've told you, lead them to the right solution. So, I know we have product sellers here. I have been both. My background is in B2C product sales of all kinds, right? So, example I always give is, if you think about it, let's say you make botanical skincare, right? And you have a few different collections based on skin types or skin issues, things like that. You're going to want, if you're standing face to face with somebody, let's say you sell at like makers fairs and like craft fairs, things like that. You're standing in front of somebody, you're talking to them, you're asking them good questions so you can learn more about them and their skin and their concerns and their current like skincare routine and all of that. Then you're not just going to say, okay, well, great, this is all of my facial skincare stuff is on like the left side of my booth here. Just have fun looking and let me know if you have any questions, right? That's not helpful because they don't actually know what they don't know. You are the expert, right? We are all the expert in our own business. So if they say, oh, well, I have some acne, I get some hormonal acne, and I'm like, but I'm a really low key person. I only do like a face wash and a moisturizer. Like I can't do like a full routine. Then you have better information. And instead of being like, great, I have this 7-piece, skincare set that they're not going to use, you can be like, cool. I have this cleanser, I have this moisturizer. Could I possibly interest you in a toner? And I'm going to explain why I think you should, like, why it's going to be beneficial, and it will literally take like 5 seconds, right? Like, that is a good sales conversation right there. You are limiting the options so they aren't overwhelmed, and you are being the very compassionate and kind expert that is leading them to the best solution. And sometimes the best solution will not be you. More times than I can count, as I've had a curious conversation with somebody, I realize they don't actually need me. They need one of my amazing friends or current or former clients, and I will make the invite, or I will say, hey, go check out so and so. And that always makes my heart happy too. Then expect the yes. Okay. You've already been working in integrity. You already know you're going to suggest the right solution. You're not just going to pick whatever costs the most in your like suite of offers and just because you want to get paid the most, right? You're going to do right by this person. So take a deep breath, expect the yes. You're doing great. Now you're going to suggest. Now you're going to confidently and succinctly suggest the offer that you think is right for them. You're going to lead with the benefits rather than going into all the fine details of like the features, right? You don't need to say like it's a 10-part training series and this and that, whatever. You're going to talk about the benefits. What does the after picture look like for them? And then when you ask their thoughts, stop talking. A really great trick that you can do if you get really nervous here is to keep a glass of water right on your desk and just take a sip, right? Stop talking, make yourself take a sip of water because it will create a pause that actually allows the person to think and process, and you won't be tempted to fill that uncomfortable void. So, important reminder, nobody closes 100% of their sales calls all the time. Few things that can help: practice, following up. Following up is huge. Sometimes a no, like if it's a straight up no, it's a no. A lot of times what it really is like a not now, or I need to think about it, right? So it's really important to follow up with people. You are not being annoying, you are being good at business. You're being a good, kind, compassionate salesperson. So follow up with people. And then if you really, really, really are finding it is such a mismatch over and over and you are closing 0 sales calls, you may need to assess if you need to adjust your positioning, messaging, offers, etc. So that is the bulk of it. I know we have some time, a little bit of time for some Q&A, but I wanted to offer up a couple of things. So if you like this and you want to go a little deeper, I have a very quick, as in like you can get through all of it in under 2 hours, mini course called Conversations That Convert. It's usually $397, but if you go to smarterselling.net and type in HB200, you can get it for $200 off. Super excited to offer that. And then also, as I already mentioned, my no sleaze sales method can be found at nosleazesales.com. You can get that as a downloadable PDF, stick it to your desk, have it right there for every sales call and conversation. But be sure to follow me on Instagram. It's where I hang out the most. check out my Sell It Sister podcast. It is on pause right now, but there are over 150 episodes for you there. And then also check me out at erikatebbens.com to learn more about me and how we might be able to work together. So I'm going to click back to camera here for the Q&A. Yay! Thank you, everyone.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Erica. Yeah, take a pause. I know you were working the polls this week and your vocal cords probably need a little break. So thank you for still joining us
Oh,
this
yeah.
week. So some of you submitted questions in advance, so we'll start there. But if you had any questions that come up, please use the little Q&A portion next to the chat box, and we'll make sure to keep checking in there if there are new questions. But the first one that I think we can chat about that you touched on in your presentation about consistency.
Yeah.
Is consistency the best key for strategies, or is a sufficient amount of time enough to prove a need to change targeting areas or styles?
Okay, I actually love this question. Of all the ones that I saw on the document, I was like, I have to talk about this question because this
Yeah.
comes up so much. There, I feel like, is so much confusion over what consistency actually means and what it looks like. Consistency does not mean 24/7, 365, like to the point of burnout, anything like that. Absolutely not. But think about it this way, right? So that question was, is it better to be consistent or is it better to wait a certain amount of time? So if you were going to have a marketing campaign, like if you were going to do a launch, let's say, and you gave yourself 4 weeks to launch, how successful do you think it would be to send one email in 4 weeks versus four? Right? You could send one a week. One a week is being consistent. Two a week is also being consistent, right? Doesn't mean that you have to send a sales email or do a sales post or whatever every single day for the entirety of the 4 week launch period. But that time will pass anyways. It's what you do with the time that counts. Because you could say, well, I've been trying this for 4 weeks, but what does trying look like? Right? Like, so I think it's important to sort of like reassess our relationship with time versus consistency and how that looks. A better way to think about it, a better question to ask yourself is like, what is the result that I'm hoping for? You could even do good, better, best, right? How long am I willing to try this experiment? Think of it like an experiment because it is. Even those of us like me I've literally been running different businesses of all kinds and sizes for almost 20 years. Every single thing you do is you never know the results until you do it. There are best practices, there are things that you can learn from that you've done in the past, but think about what that experiment is going to look like and also what realistically can you commit to, right? Is it the one email a week and 3 social media posts, right? Is it more? Is it less? Like whatever. And that's going to change depending on so many different factors, but simply decide and then do it to the best of your ability and then do a debrief at the end. What did you actually end up doing? What happened? What was good? What was not so great? What do you want to change next time, right? That is really the best that any of us can do. And the only way we get better is by doing it and seeing what works and what didn't work.
Testing is so important.
So important. I know it's not fun. I know it'd be easier just to be like, just do it for this amount of time and you'll be golden, but that's just not how it works.
It's not how it works. Yeah. Well, so this might be a little too prescriptive then, but it's a great question. So, say you are getting ready to sell an event or a course or launch something. Do you feel like the 90 days, like in advance, is like too far in advance? How far in advance should you be emailing folks when you're getting ready to launch something? I feel like this might be a little bit too formulaic, like looking for that magic number. But I think it's a really great question of how far in advance of launching something should I be thinking about having these conversations to be able to lead folks into what I'm doing. Um, does
Yeah.
that like the specific question was like if someone was selling an event or a course,
Yeah.
how far in advance should you start your email marketing campaign? And then that was me adding on the 90
Yeah.
day part from your presentation. I'm like, I'm taking notes on this.
Yeah, no, I love it. This is a great question. So, it's one of those things where it depends, right? If you have an event where people like an in-person traveling event, give people plenty of time, right? So a friend of mine actually just sold out an event that she is doing. Gosh, when is it? I think in May. And she was just talking about it and like filled it up, right? So that's many, many, many months out, right? Now, if it is if it's something else, right? Because most of us are not going to necessarily be doing like an in-person retreat or an in-person event. We're selling like a course or a program or something like that. I would say that it's really important to give yourself enough time, right? Again, enough is going to be relative. Um, but that could be I'm going to say at minimum, give yourself 2 weeks, right? Because you have to think nowadays, right? Like people are getting a lot of, they're consuming a lot of content and they're seeing a lot of things, right? Nobody is going to see every social post, read every email, like all of that, right? People are going to miss stuff. So give yourself enough time and enough like frequency with whatever you're doing so that people actually have the opportunity to see it, look it over, think about it, like all of that. If you need to have sales calls or anything, like bake in that time for yourself too. Also break in time to prep anything that like you don't have to prep to death, but just like give yourself a little bit of a buffer before you actually start promo to make sure that some things are ready to go, right? And then also I would say too that like if you want it to be longer for whatever reason, right? Maybe you can only work like 15 hours a week or you just want that really long runway. It's your business and you're also really like you're allowed to do that, right? So I look at general marketing in 90-day chunks, but I would say generally for launching maybe like 2 weeks up to 2 months is fine. And also think about your ideal clients and what is going on for them, right? Like are they really busy with like a summer vacation schedule or like kids on winter break, right? It's going to change for every person's demographic, but just try to think about the people I'm speaking to. What are they doing right now? And are they going to be present to seeing this messaging?
That's really great advice. Um, so this one is pretty specific for lead magnets. I think sometimes we get stuck in like a lead magnet. A lead magnet is only a questionnaire. How can we get a little bit more creative on what should go on a lead magnet? I cannot say the word magnet today. I apologize. That word's just not coming out of my mouth. What should go on a lead magnet besides something like a questionnaire? Um, and is that something that we should be testing as well? A/B testing, this one that's has less friction, less things to fill out, does better and gives me more eyes, but this one that has a questionnaire, maybe it's getting me more qualified leads. Um, how can folks be approaching that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I would say a few things. Think about think about how you like to teach or like deliver whatever it is that you want to be sharing with your folks, and also think about your ideal clients and how they consume information, right? So for some people this could look like a private podcast, right? That is like 5 parts and it's like really amazing and it could go into detail on one topic, right? Like I could do a private podcast on everything I've talked about here today, right? And I know because I already have a podcast, like it I love to talk, and it would probably, like, people like to listen to me, so it would probably go fairly well. However, people are also really busy and they might not think to listen to all the episodes, or they might, like, it might just be quicker for them to read the same thing, right? So instead of a private podcast, I might just put that information in like a mini guide, or like some worksheets that they can just download and look through, or something like that. You could also do like a video training series. You could do a quiz and have it be really fun. That's a little bit more technical and takes some additional like steps to set up. But I would just say, like, think about what is the thing that you help them with, and where is like that hang up, the thing that comes before the thing that they are always getting tripped up on. And it could even just be like a mindset shifting thing. It doesn't even have to be that you're actually like giving them 5 steps to solve like whatever, right? So just get creative, think about what excites you, think about what they might be interested in. This is where having those curious conversations can sometimes help as well, to actually see, like, would you listen to a private podcast or not so much before you go ahead and make something.
Bringing it right back to the testing. So
Yeah,
important to validate our ideas. So this one is a little bit of a heavier question, but I think it's really important given what's going on right now, looking at, impending recession. What do you do when, incoming money slows down? How do we approach sales and protect our business as we're looking down, a recession? Do you have any advice there in protecting our businesses without leaning into like the sleazy,
yeah.
desperate selling there?
Totally. I have a few things. One, remember that traditional business, which is like more of the world that I come from. I used to work for Calvin Klein, and like it's normal for months to fluctuate, right? If like February was always our slowest month, corporate was not freaking out, starting to fire people and like panicking, right? It's just February is a slow month because people aren't really doing a lot of shopping in February. They've done it all like over the holidays and stuff. Um, so ebbs and flows are normal. The more you can plan ahead and put some money aside to cover those dips and all of that, the better off you will be and the less panic you will feel. Now, 2 things to think about though that are really important to consider is, if what is resonating with the people who are in front of you, like if those offers that were selling aren't selling and you've tried talking about them a little differently or whatever, and they're still not selling, you have a couple options. You can either think, do I want to create different offers or adjust my offers or whatever for the audience who is already here and see if that works? And that doesn't always mean like cutting prices or whatever. It could just be like meeting them where they're at and doing something different, that meets them more where they are at right now and like what they feel like it is that they need and they're willing to invest in. Or you shift who you're speaking to and you go find people who still have money for that thing. Because in a recession, money doesn't go away, it just changes hands, right? So it could be that you need to start, like, if you're doing branding, again, I'll go back to that, and let's say branding, it might not be small solo entrepreneurs who are coming up with the funds to want to pay for a rebrand right now in the way that maybe they have been. But it could be that companies that are still making money or want to be doing some shifting of their own want a rebrand. And if you can shift your messaging and your positioning and get in front of those people, then they will become your clients. So there's always options. It's just up to you which you decide to do. But essentially, just breathe. Don't panic, because stopping breathing and panicking never helps.
That is such great advice. Like, we need to like print that on a shirt, just or a towel, put a towel up in your kitchen every time you go and you dry your hands. Like, just breathe, don't panic, just shift things a little bit. It'll be okay.
Yes, yes.
Um, So this is a great one, and I think it's just kind of fun to pick experts' brains sometimes. Do you have any favorite apps you use that you recommend to your clients or that you use running your business? Specifically, this attendee was asking about sales apps, but even just apps that help you run your business in general. Are there any that stand out to you that you would for sure recommend to others?
Yeah. So I don't really know, like in terms of sales apps, because even when I read that, I was like, oh gosh, there's like many different ways. My brain was like for tracking like leads or following up, like so I'm not exactly sure what they were thinking by sales apps. For anyone that is hoping an app will sell for you, that's immediately no. Please don't fall for that. It's going to be obvious that it's like you're not actually wanting to connect with a person and take the time. Like relationship building takes time, right? One thing that I do for myself is I use Notion. My team and I use Notion for my CEO hub and just to run my whole business. So what I've created in there, and you can do this anywhere for yourself. You could do this in Trello or even in like Google Sheets or just at like any app that makes sense for you and your brain. Uh Go ahead and do this. But what I like to do is as I am having conversations with people who I think might be a good fit for all sorts of different things, I just have a base in Notion where I put those things, right? So if I have a coffee chat with somebody, I will track it. When did we talk? What did we talk about? Did we talk about maybe doing a collaboration together? Do I think that they would be perfect for an offer? Like whatever the thing might be, right? I do that, or even people who've expressed interest in the past, but maybe it wasn't the right time. I put them in there. And that way, each time I like relaunch something or come out with something new, or have an idea and I like want to do a fun collaboration, whatever it is, I can just go back to that and go like, oh, who were those people? Or was there somebody I needed to follow up with? Like it's just very, very, very simple. And it allows me to not have people slip through the cracks. It's also really, really good, like talking about launching and like consistency and like any of those things. Like one of the best things you can ever do is reach out to somebody that you think is perfect for something that you're launching. Tell them that you have a thing, why you think that they might be perfect for it, and then ask them if they want the info. Then they have consented, and then you're like, great, here's the sales page or here's the Google Doc, like here it is. And then that way they saw it. You don't have to worry, did they see my post, did they see my email, whatever. You are personally inviting them to your thing. And the same goes with if you're doing like a free training or something. Still stands.
Such great advice. Keep it personal. It does add a little bit more work, but we've all been there when we know like a bot is reaching out to us or commenting to
Yes.
us or yeah,
Yes,
we've all been there.
exactly.
Knowing that we're about to come up on time, this is my like favorite question to ask at the end of a webinar is for anyone who is joining live or watching the replay, if they walk away with one thing from today, what do you want that thing to be that's like burned on their brain, basically? Like, what is the one thing that you hope that they got out of sitting here with us today?
Okay, I would say, I'll keep this concise. Business existed before social media. It existed before social media because we are humans and humans live in community and we form relationships. It's our natural way of being, even for introverts or people who are shy, all of that stuff, right? We like connection. We are meant to be connected and we are very perceptive, right? We can tell when somebody's just trying to like make the pitch, right? So if you can be patient and prioritize honest, authentic relationship building with no strings attached over always trying to make a sale. And if you can own the fact that you are a go to person for what it is you do in the special way you do it for the special group of people that you like, the unique group of people you do it for, if you can own that and embody that and go out in the world and like meet new people and always prioritize authentic relationship building, you will have success forever, because that is how business was originally built. So no matter what happens with recession or platforms or anything, if you prioritize authentic relationship building and you are patient and you own your expertise unapologetically, you may not, I cannot promise you will always be booked out or be a millionaire or be anything like that, but people will always be hiring you, referring you, sharing your name in rooms you aren't even in. I promise. It's literally how I got here today, because my friend Lydia, you guys asked for a sales expert and she said my name. There you go.
And on that note, we can end today because I literally cannot add anything else. Thank you so much, Erika. This was incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your brilliance and expertise with us, and for everyone joining. Thank you so much for joining. There will be a replay. It will be emailed to you. We hope you have an incredible rest of your Thursday. Thank you so much, Erika.
Thank you.